Hello, hello. We are live from my storage room as I am sitting on a bucket of rice with my paper towels and toilet paper behind me. This is a great backdrop, can you tell? I have had a lot of questions over the last, it seems like it's a constant thing of anytime anyone sees my storage room, they'll ask about food storage. And I think it is so important. And I want each one of you to have a food storage also. Whether it's a small, whatever, but just at least get started and have some type of food storage. I promise it gives you so much peace of mind. I start getting nervous when I'll walk into my storage room and there's certain areas that are empty. It makes my stomach drop. It's like, okay, before I spend money on anything else, I need to stock back up on stuff. So mine is probably a little, I don't know if I'd say it's in the extent, but it's something that I've worked on and that we've continued to do since we were first married. I grew up with having a storage room, and food storage was a big deal. We always had food storage. And luckily Mike did also. So when we got married and I wanted to start building up a food storage, he was totally for it. So I'm going to just show you quickly, my food storage. This is, I would say, most of my year to 18 month supply of food. And then I have my long-term storage with lots of cans. I'm talking the big cans of where I've canned flour and rice and sugar and powdered milk, noodles, oatmeal, things like that. That's more of a long-term storage. And I will cover both things areas, but I'm just going to show you kind of quickly, my storage, and then I'll go through and answer questions. If I can figure out how to flip this. Oh my goodness. Come on. There we go. All right. So as you walk in, this is kind of behind the door. This is not fully stocked right now. We probably stocked it up, about 2 months ago, maybe. So I have everything from pasta to I've got canned fruit. I've got juices down at the bottom, pumpkin, hot cereals. And then if you'll notice up at the top, there's cleaning supplies all across that row, along with vitamins and medicines. I have seasonings. It's basically everything that I use throughout the year. And depending on how much of it I use will determine how much I'm storing. For instance, I'm trying to think, sweetened condensed milk. It's not something I use all the time, but I do like to have some on hand. There's 5 cans there. So that would be a year's worth of sweetened condensed milk for us, most likely. I might use a couple more than that, but for the most part, whereas, say, cans of tuna, I think I have 2 more cases beyond what's on the shelf. So, or diced tomatoes, there's a lot more of those than there is sweetened condensed milk. As far as canned fruit, the only canned fruit I really store is pineapple and mandarin oranges. Everything else is bottled. Peaches, apricots, pears are bottled. But lots of seasonings, veggies, chili, cream of mushroom and cream of chicken soup. I've got beans. Make sure you're storing proteins, even if it's not meats. And then as far as short-term storage, I do have cereal, and things like chips and snacks, when they go on sale, or if I'm buying Costco packs or whatever, then I stock up on them. I have crackers, I have salad dressings, more of my syrups, Crisco. There's all sorts of things. And then underneath on the very bottom, and then also over against this wall, are things that I will restock this area with. Sorry if I'm giving you whiplash. And then back here I have applesauce, more bottled. I have lots of bottled chicken, peanut butter. I did just buy some peanut butter that I haven't put in here yet, because I knew I was low and they had it on just on an end cap and it was on sale. So I grabbed like 12 more things of peanut butter. So, and then I also have things like paper plates, things like that, things that if I couldn't go to the store for a year, I would want to have, or even say 3 months. I definitely would not say I have a year's supply of stuff like that. And back in here, it gets kind of dark. This light's out. There's soap and shampoos over in this corner, but then there's also up here, I've got cake mixes. And then also I have lots of drink mixes. And that's basically if the water is not good, I'm going to be able to cover it up with flavor from there. Where did I put my stack with my questions that I had? If you have other questions, go ahead and type them in, but I will go over just some of the questions that got asked. The first one that I wanted to go over with was where to start. And if you don't have any type of food storage in your house, the first thing that I would work on, if it was me, the first thing I would do is I would get a week's worth of food in your house. And I'm talking things like a couple extra cans or bottles of spaghetti sauce, and make sure you have some noodles. Just go through like certain meals that you would make, and then you make sure that you just have the ingredients for those meals, that you have at least a week's worth, that you feel comfortable that if you couldn't go to the store for a week, you could feed your family. And then just build from there. I think the easiest thing to do is when you make your grocery list, if you don't have any type of food storage, take an extra $10 or $20 or whatever your budget allows. And sometimes you say, well, I don't have money in my budget to buy extra. But maybe if you don't go to Swig or you don't go there, or, I mean, you might have to make some trade-offs. But for me personally, having the storage would be so much more to me than having something else that I know we think is a need, but it's not necessarily. Especially when your kids are hungry. If you thought that they didn't have food, what would you have given up? And what would you regret buying if your kids were hungry? So after you've gotten like a week's worth, I would work towards a short-term storage, meaning like a 3-month. They'll say that if you talk to different people in food storage, they'll say there's a 3-day supply, which to me is a 72-hour kit. So that if I had to get up and leave my house, or if we just got stuck in our house, either way, we have them stored in backpacks that you could go and have 72 hours worth of food, water, and the things that you need. And like I said, we just store those in old backpacks. And then you'll want to work up to your 3-month supply. And that is going to be done. If you have the money and you can go out and just buy it, do it. But don't make this, I mean, if you don't want to go in debt to build up your food storage either. It's when you need a can of cream of chicken soup, grab 2 or 3, stick some of them in storage. And then the next time you need cream of chicken soup, don't use that's on your shelf right now. Buy some more, but then rotate it through. So you'll add the 3 more cans that you buy into that, and you'll take the one that you purchased before. If you're doing it right now, you probably won't have to rotate as much, but just buy a little bit extra every time you go on things that you use all the time. Now, like for instance, when I go to the grocery store right now, if I was trying to build up my food storage, Nutella is not something that I would buy 2 of, because it's not like one of those staple items. You're wanting to stock up at first on your staple items. And including in that would be like some spices. If you buy big things of spices at Costco, that's great. If you buy like the envelope packets of like taco seasoning, buy 5 or 6 at a time. Don't buy 1 or 2 for the week or the month when you're doing your shopping. Just add in some extras and it will build up slowly, but it will build up a lot faster than you'll ever think it will. One of the first things that Mike and I purchased was when we were like first married, and we had our 2-bedroom apartment, and the case lot sale came up. And that was just something that I got used to. My mom always shopped the case lot. Mike's mom shopped the case lot. I bought a case of chili and a case of tuna. And that was like a big splurge for us at the time. Like, we were brand new married. Mike was going to school. Like, we didn't have money, but that was something that I knew. Like, those were things that we would eat. They were on sale. And so I was able to then use a little bit of grocery money every time to just slowly stock up, especially when things were on sale. I rarely will go stock up on something if it's not on sale, unless it's something that we eat all the time and I don't ever really see it go on sale. Then I'll stock up on it just at a regular price. But for the most part, I won't. And then as far as like things that you use just on occasion, maybe grab one extra so that you have that. And I'll be honest, it's really nice when you're cooking and it's like, oh shoot, I'm out of this. Run down to the storage room and grab that for me. That I'm not making trips to the grocery store. If you noticed, if you got my email, I kind of pointed it out. If you're not on my email list, if you look at my grocery list every week compared to what is on our menu every week, I usually have between 10, right around 10 to 12, maybe 15 items on my grocery list every week, because I'm shopping from my storage room. And then I add in, it's usually fresh things. Like, I was out of potatoes this week and I needed bananas and always milk, so eggs, cheese, some things like that, some produce. I needed some peppers and some zucchinis. Those are the types of things that I'm adding in. But most of the other stuff that I cook with in my menu every week is coming from my storage room. And most of the items in my storage room I bought on sale and stocked up at the time. Like I said, not everything, but I would say probably 75% of the things in my storage room I purchased on sale. Okay. On to my next question. The other question that person asked, it was where to start and recipes to use kamut flour. I don't actually use kamut flour, but I know that most of your bread recipes are interchangeable. So Pinterest it. I promise you're going to find lots of stuff. Okay, the next one. Should you store wheat or turn it all into flour? 100% do not turn it into flour. Store the wheat. Okay, wheat will last so long, and especially with fresh ground wheat flour, because of when you get white flour compared to wheat flour, they've basically ground up the wheat, they've gotten rid of the bran, they've gotten rid of the germ, and you're left with the endosperm, and that's what's the white flour, which, yeah, they get rid of most of the nourishment out of it. But with all of those other good things in there, it will spoil quite fast. Wheat flour is only good like for storage for a couple months. Whereas wheat berries themselves are good for years and years. I'm using wheat berries right now that are over 30 years old, and they're fabulous. So definitely store your wheat berries. Don't store whole wheat flour. So, solve the debate. This says, how long does food last past its date on the package? And I know this is such a big deal with some people. My mother-in-law, literally about a week before food expires, she gets rid of it. Canned items, packaged items, whatever, she totally will get rid of it. And she, at one point, I was there or something, and I was like, I'll take that. If you don't want it, she'll feed it to the chickens. She'll send it to my sister-in-laws to feed to the chickens. But she will not use canned food, if it has an expiration date on it and it's even a day past. So I looked up because I wanted to find out for sure. Like, I didn't want to steer you wrong on this, because my opinion is if the can's not bulging and it's within, I would even say a couple years, I'm totally fine using it. But I looked up, and this is from the USDA. This was on USDA.gov. Most shelf-stable foods are safe indefinitely. Now, I was surprised at that. In fact, canned goods will last for years as long as the can itself is in good condition, meaning no rust, no dents, no swelling. Packaged foods, meaning cereal, pasta, cookies, crackers, are safe past the best by date, although they may eventually become stale or develop an off flavor. Now, we do know that the longer food sits in the cans, that it will lose some of its nutritional value. But for the most part, they're talking like 10 years past that it's going to lose. And they'll say that it will drop down like 20-30%. Food banks take canned food up to 6 months past date. Yes. But I'll be honest, like, I'll use canned. I normally go through it fast enough. Every once in a while, I'll find a couple of cans that didn't get rotated right, and they've, kind of stayed back behind, and they'll get pulled up, and I'll still use them. I'm not. But, however, if you go to open a can, you get your can opener, and when you punch the can, if it sprays, if it's oh my goodness. Those types of things do tend to go closer. Is it back? I'm sorry, it says audio stopped. Am I back or not? My daughter was trying to call me, and I hope you can hear me again. Okay, I'm just going to keep going. But the tomato items those I would say stick closer to your dates because they do seem to spoil faster. But yeah, for the most part, I would keep it a while. Let's just say that. If there is any type of a bulge to it, do not use the can. And you used to be able to they would have sales, or at stores, if you had a dent can, you would get it like half price, or at least like on a good sale. You don't see that anymore. But a dented can compromise the seal on it. So make sure if you do have a dented can, use those first. Don't put those in your long-term storage. Use those. And then this is another one on time frame. Long-term food storage. How long do you really think you should keep it before replacing? And I will say that right now, like I said, I am using wheat berries that are 30 years old. And I honestly have not gotten into the food storage that I did I did a lot of long-term storage in 1999 before the Y2K that everyone was worried about, wondering what was going to happen. I haven't gotten into very much of that. I've used some, but it's been a few years ago and it was totally fine. But I do have a friend who uses hers and rotates through. She just started using it last year. We did ours all together, and she said hers has been totally fine. Her flour, sugar, pasta, some of those things that you would think would spoil faster, and she has said that they were fine. She did say on a few of the things you could taste a little bit of a difference, but for the most part, all of the food has still been good. So, how to rotate. This is going to be different, I think, for so many people, and you're just going to have to find what works for you. Now, when you saw my things. My mother-in-law has shelves that they're on rollers, so you just fill it at one end and you constantly have the fresh can, or the oldest can, I should say, at the front, so you can take that, and the freshest cans are at the back. I don't have those. Mine are just stacked here, but like I showed you, so this is the stuff that we're eating currently. If I send my kids to the storage room, this is where they'll grab stuff from, is on these shelves. Now, down here, I have more cases of items. There's more cream of chicken and cream of mushroom soup back there. I also have cases over here that are about 4 wide. So when our shelves behind me, when these start to get low, then Mike and I will come in and just do a food storage hour about. Usually takes us about an hour, and we'll go through, move everything forward, and stock with the newer stuff and put it behind the old. And yeah, it does take a little bit of time, but for the most part, it works fine. And I know a lot of people will say, I can't do food storage. I don't have a room like that. Like, I don't have a food storage room in my house. And when we were first married, we didn't have a food storage room, but one closet was full of food storage. And then it was taken to the pantry. From there, I would go, so that I would have a few cans of everything in my pantry, but that would come from the food storage area. And then in the next house that we were in, we really didn't have anywhere. We had 2 kids in one bedroom. We were in the other bedroom. There wasn't a lot of spots for food storage, so a lot of it went under beds and up on very tops of closets. Like, we got creative with where our food storage was, but I was not willing to not have that food storage. All right, let's have another question here. Sorry, Canberra, I didn't answer your phone call. She just hopped on. She was the one that was trying to call me. How much salt do you have for food storage? I actually purchase my salt because of all the baking I do. I go through a lot of salt in that area. I'm not baking near as much as I used to, but I just kind of got used to it. The Costco, I live in St. George, and the Costco in St. George does not carry this, but the Costco's in northern Utah, and I noticed that it was at the Costco in Las Vegas at their business center, and they actually sell 10-pound bags of salt. That's how I buy my salt now, is in 10-pound bags. But they say that you should have in storage 5 pounds of salt per person per year. And I would have said that's like insane, that's crazy. But especially when you're baking and you're making food, if you're making food from scratch, you use a lot more salt. If you're cooking mainly from canned goods, that has salt added. But if you are like, say, cooking with flour, like if you're making bread from scratch, you're going to add in all that salt. If you're making beans, if you have dried beans without salt, like you cook a pot of beans and you don't have any salt in them, they are bland. There's no flavor to those suckers. So you're definitely going to want to store some salt. That salt that I get at Costco, the 10-pound bag, I think is right around $5. So it's not expensive. It's just where to store it. And I think storing the 10-pound bag is a lot easier than storing all of the little canisters. And then I have a bigger container that I pour, actually I'll show you, that I pour my salt into. And then once this gets in, it's just a great big container. This is salt. And then I have another bag that when this gets empty, and then I just refill my salt containers. Sorry. I refill my salt containers from that. So that's on my salt. I'm going to go back and look. I know there was a few questions. I do have a couple more, but I don't want to miss these. How long do you store peanut butter? Peanut butter is one of those things that it will go rancid. So I will definitely check the date on these. This is used by, and peanut butter is usually, the peanut butter that you'll get at the store is usually a 1-year shelf life. And that's what this is. It is by December 2023. So yeah, it's not one that you can store a ton. You can't store like a 5-year supply of peanut butter. Although I do have in one of my big cans, it's not in here. It's actually still in my car from when I did my Relief Society thing, because I haven't had Mike haul that big bucket in. In one of the big cans, there's lots of different places that you can get powdered peanut butter. And I do have a couple of cans of that. So that will store, and that's one that will store for 25 years. Do you open flour, sugar, rice, and put them in buckets? Your room looks pretty tight. Yes, I do. I have, upstairs, I have like the 5-gallon buckets with the Gamma lids. And if you don't know what the Gamma lids are, I'm going to show you right here. So this is a Gamma lid. This is my rice. And when I send my kids down or my husband down to refill the canister, oh, it is empty, which is why there are 2 bags of rice right here. But you can just screw that lid back on, and it makes it so much nicer that you know you're getting it sealed back on there easily. So yes, I have upstairs, I have buckets of bread flour, all-purpose flour, and sugar. And then I do store my rice because we go through it so quickly. I have cans, big cans of rice that I've canned in my long term, but I also keep, I think I've got 50, I think those are each 25 pounds, or they might be 40 pounds, bags that will fit in there. So I just bought a new one because I knew the bucket was almost empty. So one of those will go in there, and then I'll have one that's ready for the next rotation. And that will last me, those 2 things will last me about a year. So, when you get a chance, show us what's in your 72-hour backpacks. My 72-hour backpacks just got emptied because the stuff had been in there. So we are going to refill them. That was one of our projects for the next couple weeks, is to get those refilled. So I will show when I'm filling them up what we put in them. Food banks take the canned goods. Yes. Was that the only? I was thinking there was one more question. Okay, that's it. Okay, another one was, do you have a favorite long-term food storage company that's food is tasty enough to eat it? They're surprisingly, a lot of them are actually decent. Now, I'm not talking the prepared meals. When we were growing up in our 72-hour kits, we literally had MREs that they would buy from, bags of rice are from Costco. Like you would purchase the MREs from like an emergency supply place. And that's what we had in our 72-hour kits. And I remember every year when we would replace the food in our 72-hour kits, we would always do it at General Conference in October. So every October we would rotate the food in our 72-hour kits, and we would eat those sometimes, and they were awful. And then my son went into the military, and he was in the Marines, and he's like, Mom, I lived off of those quite a few times. Like, that's what you'd eat, and they aren't bad. I'm like, oh, they were bad. So as far as that type of if you're saying that type of a long-term food storage, then no, I don't have ones like that. But as far as like if you're talking cans of food, any of the Bishop Storehouse, it's not called the Bishop Storehouse. What is it called? It's through the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They have a food pantry that sells, you can go in and buy things like rice, oatmeal, beans, all of those types of things that are already canned for you. And it's the cheapest place you'll be able to find stuff like that. It is the cheapest. Now, as far as taste wise, the milk, I will bake with it. I wouldn't drink with it. The only milk that I've tasted that it's like, okay, yeah, I could drink that, is this Thrive brand. And they have lots of other things. They actually have their milk on sale. I'll post a link for it but they actually have their milk on sale right now. It's a New Year's sale for 50% off. And they have lots of other powdered things. You can buy things like this can of apple slices that I showed you. Things like that. They have a brand that they carry, and I think most of those I don't have right here that I can grab easily. They have some at Walmart even, that they have an aisle that has like their bulk. You'll see like a small, it's not very big, a small section of bulk items, and they carry dried foods or food storage items. Most of theirs is more of like the fruit, the freeze-dried strawberries and raspberries and bananas and things like that. I know they do have some powdered milk in theirs, but I will say that Thrive has the best milk as far as I'm concerned, and it is on sale half price. So I think it ends up being, I think it's $15. It's $15 for a can, and it makes, I want to say 3 gallons, because it ends up being $5 a gallon, which honestly, you're not going to be drinking it like you do, unless your kids do. They might, but I think that's a pretty good price. Here's one of the, this is one of the Walmart brand ones, and my dad is awesome, and every once in a while for Christmas or for just randomly, he will, oh, there you go, $5.32 a gallon if you buy it by a case on that powdered milk. He'll show up with a can of stuff for food storage every once in a while. He gets so nervous about us not being prepared. So this Augustin Farms, I'm pretty sure this is the brand that is at Walmart. And I know with Thrive, they had some other things that were on sale for their New Year's sale. Also, they had some dried fruit or some freeze-dried fruits. There was a few things. I'll stick a link. I'll post on my story and throw a link on there. Someone else, how do you store water? I have, for the most part, I do have one of the big drums. I'm not sure how many gallons that even is. One of the big tall things that I have in my garage that's full of water. Other than that, I'm not the best at water storage. So we have, anytime we empty a bottle of juice, or we have, soda, like a 2-liter bottle of soda, any type of a bottle that a drink comes in that's a decent size, I will refill. And I have the bottom layer on my storage room. It goes around and it's full of water bottles that way. I know I don't have enough water storage. I need to do better with that. Just so you are aware though, all of the water that you have in your hot water heater, that can be used as storage. So depending on how big your hot water heater is, if you have one of those that's just like the instant, you're not going to have storage there. But that you can consider that water storage. And also, anytime I empty a bleach bottle, I fill that up with water. I save that and I keep that in my laundry room, or some of it's under here. And I know that if it's in a bleach bottle, it's for cleaning purposes, because I don't rinse that bottle out, don't clean it out. I leave just that little tiny bit of bleach that's in there, and then I'll plan on using that for cleaning. And they say though that if you have a clean water source, you do not need to add anything in for as far as purification. As long as it's coming in clean, you're fine to not add purification. They didn't used to say that, but they are saying that. Another thing that I will say is, I said laundry room, make sure that you have things like laundry soap and shampoos and those kind of things. I have always, like I said, we have always had a food storage. It's been super important to us. And I always had my food storage because, for like the prophets had told us that we needed to have food storage. And so we had our food storage for the day that we weren't going to be able to go to the store and there was going to be some big natural disaster or all of these things. And I found out the hard way that, and I shouldn't say the hard way, we lived off of our food storage for a year when the economy crashed. and my husband was out of work. He decided at that time that he needed to go back to school. I was working part-time. I had 5 little kids, and we lived off of our food storage. We had a lot more than I realized, and I was so grateful for that. So don't think that you don't need your food storage because, yeah, you can run to the store or, you can just constantly do that. You never know when you're going to need that food storage. And I don't care how much money you have, if something does shut down, trucks coming in from where you're at or something like that. Have you seen how empty the shelves? Do you remember how empty the shelves were when COVID hit? I mean, it went crazy that there was just things that you couldn't get. And a lot of people were upset because I had a lot of toilet paper, but I wasn't I had that and I had stored that for a reason. And I was so grateful that I had that. And I did have ugly comments saying you're hoarding it. It's I've had that there for 3 years. That wasn't anything that I've gone out and hoarded and gotten and things. So just, you never know when you're going to need your food storage. And I hope that you will just try to build up some so that you have just that peace of mind. Like I said, it's going to start small unless you have money to go out and just purchase it all. And if you do without it changing anything else in your life, that's fine. Or I don't want you to go in debt is what I'm saying to go get your food storage, but slowly build it up, and I promise you will not regret it. Are there any other questions about food storage? I had another thought as I was saying that, and now I can't remember what it was. Yeah, I can't remember what my other thought was, but so, I know what I was going to say is if you took a picture of my storage room and you went through and you bought everything that was in my storage room, that would be a horrible idea for you because you eat differently than I do. My food storage room is going to look a whole lot different than my mom and dad's does, even though I was raised by them. My mom is now, she can't have gluten and she can't have dairy. So their food storage looks a whole lot different than mine does. You will not find canned peas in my storage room because I think they are disgusting. But you will find Green Giant canned corn and canned beans. You won't find store brand canned corn because I don't like it either. There's some things that I could care less on brands, and there are some things that I do care about. And yes, if I was hungry, I would eat store-bought, or store brand. But store what you eat and eat what you store, and you'll be able to rotate it and you'll be able to slowly build it up so that it's there when you need it. So if you have any questions, leave a comment on here, and I will answer them. Oh, wait, is there? Oh, no, that was someone. Sorry, I thought it was a question I missed, but it was someone requesting to join. So thank you so much. And I will hop on when we fill our 72-hour kits and show you what we're putting in them. And I just appreciate it. Let me know if you have any other questions for food storage. I've got beans.